Yo guys, I just wanted to hop on here real quick and break down how I like to use OTT and Multiband Dynamics. I get a lot of questions on it, and I feel like some producers, it's a bit of a mystery too. So it's basically just a compressor on steroids, and it has two functions. It has compression, this band, and upwards expansion or compression, this band. You can also do upwards expansion on this band too, but I typically don't. So just to get you a visualizer, typically a compressor works by taming dynamics that go above a threshold. This is where you set the threshold. And expansion works on bringing up dynamics and artifacts below a threshold, so it'll raise them in volume. So that's basically what we're doing here. If we hold command and bring all these bands up, and you go to the below, the B, you can see that the threshold, the below threshold in yellow, is being raised. And you can turn up the ratio on all of them by holding command and pulling them up. So I have a little wub here. Let me just turn off this dynamics. There it is, and let's see how it sounds. So you can hear we're already kind of getting a little more bite out of it and a little more juice. You can also turn up the input on each band by 5 dB and the output of each band by 5 dB, and turn up the time. And turning up the time will be a slightly softer processing. And if you turn it all the way left to 10%, it'll be more aggressive. So I typically have it a little bit less aggressive. Then I'll turn down my output by 5 dB to kind of gain stage it. So right now, I'm going to turn the output down a little more just to gain stage a bit, because yeah, louder might appear to be better. It's not always better. So we're a little louder. Let's turn it down a little more. That's good enough. So again, you can kind of juice this even more. Let's just pull them all the way to the max and see what happens. So it's bringing up a lot of the hidden elements at on the right here, making it a little brighter. I'm gonna turn the output down a little more. And you can see we have a meter here, and our sub is going above our threshold, so we can actually tame it with the above and set the threshold to there and kind of choke it so it doesn't go above the certain threshold. So if and you notice on my spectrum here how it gets a bit tamed. So you can kind of do that with all of them by just turning up the ratio. I usually like to set them about where your peak is. The yellow line is your RMS, your average signal, and the top is your peak. And then from here, you can kind of just set your output gain to where you want it. You can even dial in a little more and set your attack and your release values for the compressor. I tend to use a fairly quick, but not super quick, attack on my high band. Fairly quick release, slightly slower on the mids, and even slower on the lows. So on, off. And if we bring in just the good old-fashioned OTT preset and compare this with what we just made, let's see, we have the input, we have output volume. Their output volume is a little more maxed, and they're kind of just controlling the dynamics because they're heavy limiting with a huge ratio. They're heavy compressing. So they're not really letting anything go above the threshold that is set on the compressor. We're here, like sometimes we want it to be louder. We want to exaggerate our sub. We want to exaggerate our high end, but we don't want it to be too exaggerated. So that's where the above compressor comes in. And again, above compressor is just a typical compressor. You just are choking it down. And the green bands, it's pushing it up. A higher ratio, it's going to juice out, expand all the volume a bit more. That's what this ratio is right here. Here's our compression ratio. So if you can throw like I tend to juice like everything I do into here because you can get so much more out of any sound. It just sounds more full with it on. Like we're getting a whole exaggeration up right above 1K with it on. Compared to it off. You do have to be careful though, because sometimes, or all the time, your transients can get a little jacked up. So that was on, and let's do it off. So track 7 is on, track 7 is off, track 8 is on. Like in track 8, you can kind of see there's just a little more going on. Everything is just a little more exaggerated. These peaks and valleys are a little more exaggerated than these ones. But we are getting some phase shift. There's zero latency with this plugin. But I think the time kind of shifts everything a little bit. But you can see here we're kind of getting some spicy boys starting to get exaggerated. So if you're doing this kind of thing, I tend to recommend freeze and flattening it when you're getting ready to do like your final mix down. And then you can like add some fades, chop out any tail, because it will exaggerate any tail you have, because it's expanding everything that is hidden. So like if I just throw a giant reverb on here, and I'm going to put a multiband, my OTT preset, basically what we just made here, and we record this. Let me turn up the decay. So that's with OTT, and our decay without OTT. I can record it. I'll just turn this up so you can see. So you can see in our reverb with OTT, we have a way longer tail because it's exaggerating everything that's hidden right here. It's turning it up because it's all quiet below that threshold that we set. The below threshold right here, everything's getting louder. So I hope this helps. I definitely recommend doing this on literally everything to help get the most out of your sounds. Peace.